Man, I'm so sick of making these Sonic videos. I just want to make Deltarune content, but I promised I'd finish this series for once, so I can't. I'd do anything, I'd do whatever it takes to... Hey everyone, this was certainly not a video I was expecting to make, but boy am I glad I am. Sonic Racing Crossworlds was not a game I had interest in from the moment it was announced. I simply thought, oh, a new Sonic Racing game, cool, and promptly moved on with my life. History repeated itself, however, as the more I got to see of this game, the more interesting and exciting it got for me. I eventually tried the open network test when that happened, and managed to play for over 10 hours across its runtime, so that was the final nail in the coffin for me to get the game, and oh man is it a banger! It is unbelievably fast-paced, the crossworld mechanic makes every race feel different, the character selection is diverse, the rival interactions are genius, the crossovers are hilariously awesome, the gadget system is compelling. There is so much to love here, but today, I'll focus on those illustrious tracks. The huge variety of the track selection alone is super nice to see, and there really isn't any I'd say I do not have fun in. Kinda. Okay, there's like literally one dud which we'll get to swiftly, but this consistent quality makes for one of the greatest kart races ever made, period. To give myself an excuse to take a little break from the main Sonic series I'm currently doing, I thought it would be fun to do a simple, low-stakes ranking of the tracks of this game. A few obvious disclaimers for people familiar with this game, however. I will be ranking the Crossworlds alongside the main tracks, having used the time trial versions of those. This is the closest we'll get to a fair match in my opinion, as there's no way to play the Crossworlds on their own in other modes, or to turn off the Crossworlds altogether for the main tracks. I'm pretty confident in my ranking nonetheless, so it shouldn't really matter anyway. I'm sick of this intro now, let's just get to the ranking. Here is every Sonic Racing Crossworlds track ranked. Outside of the ones that aren't out yet, this will become outdated very quickly. 39. Dude, I don't know how they made the fire track this uninteresting, but they did it. Magma Planet is a whole lot of nothing to me. You're in a plane for most of its duration and nothing really happens whilst you're flying. There's no crazy spectacle to distract you or precise routes that allow for shortcut potential. It's a lot of waiting for the next turn to come up. Sure, there are these giant fire creatures about the place, but all they do is fly in your way sometimes. All of this, combined with the extremely obscure inspiration of Galaxy Force 2 of all things, makes this track one I always try to avoid getting to when playing online. Fundamentally, the game itself is fun enough to make me have a good time here, but it's tough to find anything super interesting about Magma Planet. This placement was an easy lock-in before I even started on the video. Super sorry to all the Magma Planet fans out there, flying is simply the weakest gameplay style in the game. 38. Literally everything from here on is something I at least enjoy more than I don't, so I hope no one attempts to murder me. Still, however, I think that if a course begins with flying mode, it's kinda inherently less fun. That doesn't mean Skyroad doesn't have some good stuff to it though, as the more challenging routes once you reach the land are exhilarating. Bouncing on the hot air balloons is always fun as well, but there's really not a lot of intricacy to be found here in comparison to the others at least. 37. E-Stadium is your average opening track in a kart racer. It doesn't do anything truly exceptional, but it eases you in wonderfully. Simple turns, simple tricks, and a decent few long straightaways makes this one not the craziest thing in the world, but I want to give some attention to how this track introduces a really interesting type of shortcut the game doesn't do often, but I love. On the third lap, a larger ramp appears in the trick segment, letting you reach a small travel ring, taking you further up the track. Not only is this a genius game design tutorial, it got me super excited to see what tracks would do to include similar stuff like this. That's about it though. Great start, just not as great compared to the other tracks. 36. There are a few tracks in this game I honestly feel like I should like more. Case in point, Crystal Mine. Maybe it's because it's not themed around a certain game, but this track is always on the very back of my mind and never goes further. I just have no major feelings on anything here, it's all in a constant state of good. The sharp turns at the beginning, the visually neat flying segments, the excavator splitting the path, it's all neat, but not outstanding. I'm sure this track appeals to some people out there, but it doesn't really appeal to me. 35. Rainbow Garden feels like a very solid, natural continuation of E Stadium for obvious reasons. The flying segment doesn't overstay its welcome. In fact, I weirdly think it should have been longer considering it's the introduction of the mechanic. I like the split path that opens up in lap 3, the aesthetic is appealing, and the music is pleasant. This is just a happy track to race on, how can you dislike it? I'm saying this about number 35, this game is good. 34. I freaking love gambling! Roulette Road is a pretty sweet one to drive on, with a wonderful casino aesthetic, 2 360-degree turns in a row, and a neat jump midway through. Directly after that jump, however, is a pretty mundane segment with multiple parts that immediately converge together, and Crossworlds generally have a lack of shortcuts, so there's not a lot to do here. It's a pretty memorable one, but definitely not for the gameplay. 33. Golden Temple just kinda confuses me. I've never seen the point of taking these alternate routes at the beginning of the course, I've literally never done it, and the segment after is kinda mundane because of how wide the turns are. I do really enjoy the water segment in the latter half, however. It fully encourages you to use the drift jump in so many ways. I will not take any slander against the water form, it's still fun overall, but it doesn't hit me quite like some others. 32. I can't be the only person to hear Raise Up Your Bad in the theme of Blizzard Valley, right? Has the brain rot truly gotten to me? The track's fun at least. There's not a lot that really sticks out to me about it, but it's overall a fun time. I like the flying segment added in lap 3, and taking the shortcut at the end is always fun. It's good, nothing more. 31. Chao Park is basically what if Water Park from a deluxe was better. It commits a lot more to the theme than Water Park, and is a lot more memorable because of that. I really enjoy the large jumps you take, and this moment with a tough alternate path after a jump is great. The lap 3 water segment is solid, but nothing crazy, ultimately making this one a track I never mind playing online. Sorry to the water park stands, I guess, that one's mid-hell. 30. Hidden World really impressed me when I came across it the first time. It was a genius choice to have this track based on every level in that world, as the scenery always changes to something new and cool. The weird fuzzy Pac-Man things make me uncomfortable though. Why the hell do they look like that? My favourite segment is definitely the Zone 3 segment. It's just a really satisfying segment thanks to all the rings about the place. It was the best level in that world too, so fun. I want to play this one more, man, choose it online. 29. Why is Kraken Bay chosen so often as a Crossworld? It's a good one, yes, but not peak, dude. I like the alternate path after the first ship, and doing lots of jumps in the water at the beginning is good fun. The flying segment at the end is good too. It's all good, but not great, unlike what the game wants you to think. Maybe it's the overuse of the track getting it this low, I don't know, but hey, I got nothing. 28. This is a Sonic Heroes themed stage, with music featuring references to both Sonic R and Sonic CD, Japan. This combo is very abstract, but I was so hype hearing a remix of You Can Do Anything at All. It's an absolute banger. That, alongside Supersonic Racing in the final lap, is enough for the track to reach this high. But there's also a bunch of neat things in the course itself I enjoy, like the shortcut after the giant sideways loop, and the extended water segment of the third lap. I'm always hyped whenever I reach this track, even if it's mainly for the music. 27. Steampunk City has a lot going for it, but it doesn't hit me quite like I wish it does. There are tons of different pathways to travel, but a lot of them end up being weirdly slower than others, making me not want to take them. I like the smoke of the trains covering up speed boosts in the final flying segment, however, and the fact that the alternate paths are there at all is enticing nonetheless. The aesthetic is quite nice too, and overall it's still a very satisfying track to race on, even if it doesn't have the wow factor others do. 26. Eggman Expo is in an interesting spot, as it absolutely would be a slam dunk if one certain section was more enjoyable. Firstly, what a banger idea of a track. Having previous Eggman mechs affect the track as you race, mainly in the third lap, is so damn cool, and the music referencing various Eggman tracks of the past is a delight. My main problem, however, is, weirdly enough, with the water segment. I, for some reason, cannot get a grasp on how to successfully drive this part, as opposed to all others in the game. I never feel like I really do it right, ever, and that genuinely brings down the level a decent bit. Overall, however, this is a wonderful track to end off the main Grand Prix in the game, despite it not being the last one for obvious reasons. 25. I was absolutely over the moon to see Starlight Carnival represented in this game. It's one of my favourite locations in the franchise aesthetically, as I've said many times before. Don't know why it's called Galactic Parade in this game, but at least the layout is pretty damn cool. I love the long stretches of the track with the two laser bolts from the game and boost panels. It adds a sense of risk I love. The intro could be more interesting, and I would have preferred more sprawling visuals like what the original game does, but overall, I am very satisfied with this interpretation of the stage. 24. This was a really great choice to bring back from Shadow 05, as Digital Circuit has one of the coolest aesthetics from that game. I also like the different paths to take here, they add a little bit of that sauce this track needs. There's not really a lot here, but I always have a solid time here. It's fun. 23. Major props to Holoska for remixing the night version of the song instead of the day version. It's extremely rare to see that happen. The driving segments are by far the best here. I love how bumpy the road gets for some quick tricks in the opening, and the ending has a super cool jump. The middle is kinda mundane unfortunately, especially if you're playing time trials. You just go up in the sky and just stay there. There's a few boosts, but that's kind of it. I know you can stay in the water here, but my brain is wired to go up the flying path, so yeah. Really solid overall, but not airtight. 22. I think that Donpa Factory is the turning point from fun but simple tracks to the real good stuff. There are some super cool shortcuts and mechanics at play here. I love the stupid source that slows you down, this pathway in the second half is really neat, and the turns are simply really satisfying to take. The third lap introducing these conveyor pathways is really exciting too, and all of these aspects together create a stage I'm always excited for. I just think it's not as fun as the other stages, to be honest. 21. Dude, we got Sweet Mountain in this game too? Would have preferred something like Planet Wisp or Tropical Resort to be fair, but this one's fun as hell. I love the sharp turns you have to take in the water, especially the one with the shortcut, and passing through the middle of the donuts for rewards is super satisfying. It's quite to the point with its layout, making it not the most exceptional thing in the world, but I love when this one comes up. 20. Urban Canyon has some of the most hype turns of any track. There are 3 180 degrees almost immediately, and a wider 180 and a 360 towards the end. Having more turns with more challenging layouts allows for them to be even more satisfying to master. And this doesn't even mention how the third lap makes the beginning turns even sharper thanks to the new pathways. My only major problem with this one is that the theming isn't exactly memorable to me. A track is perfected once it has an insanely creative theme it runs with, alongside some exceptional gameplay. This track for me only does one of those things, making it this low. Still super fun though. 19. I absolutely adore the opening of Dinosaur Jungle. Making 2 ginormous jumps off the water is unbelievably exhilarating, and the rest of the section keeps that hype up. Just seeing a location from Secret Rings would be represented immediately made me realize this game would be something more, and this track doesn't disappoint. Threading the needle through the cacti here is super satisfying, the small shortcut towards the end is brilliant, and oh yeah, there are dinosaurs attempting to murder you. I don't think the gameplay is the best thing in the world putting it this low, but halfway up the ranking isn't bad at all. 18. Rooftop Run hype! This track does some awesome stuff with rooftops and running, such as some great split paths throughout the whole track, a satisfying 180-degree left turn after a straight upwards, and another brilliant travel ring shortcut. This one's one of my personal favourites, it's so satisfying to hop onto the path from below. I don't think the track is committed to the theme enough though, as I was really hoping for some clock tower shenanigans or maybe some barrels rolling your way on the third lap. If it felt more like Spagonia, it would be higher, but it's still a blast to run through nonetheless. 17. The final track of the Final Cup is my least favourite of the bunch. Strange too, as it's based on one of the best games in the series. White Space could have done with more hazards to me, especially on the third lap. Imagine if some Black Arms soldiers littered the flying segment, that would have made the segment far better in my eyes. My complaining's only in good faith though, as this track is still damn awesome. I love the water segment and its shortcut in the first lap, and changing to the Doom version of the area for lap 3 is absolutely genius. I'm never bored playing this track, and it's only the beginning of the fantastic Secret Cup courses. 16. White Cave being the only Riders track represented is a crime, but they chose a damn good one to represent. I actually found the time earlier this year to play the original Riders and thought it was brilliant, so I'm over the moon that this Crossworld feels as good as that game to play. There's so many subtle shortcut to take, sick as hell set pieces, and challenging obstacles to avoid. That final jump where you just obliterate your control stick to spam tricks is one of the coolest things ever conceived, man. 15. All 3 tracks beginning with a W are right next to each other. That's kinda funny. Water Palace is, chronologically speaking, the first really good track you play in this game. It's got some awesome spectacle, intense gameplay, and it introduces the water playstyle brilliantly. The water playstyle is almost just as fun to me as the grounded playstyle. It reminds me of the drift tricks you can do in Mario Kart World. It's not as diverse as that mechanic, unfortunately, but taking turns with this thing has an edge no other playstyle has, man. I will defend this thing with my life. A damn good track that truly makes you realize, wait, this game is peak. 14. The 70th remix of Radical Highway we've gotten is still good. What a timeless theme, man, and an exceptional track to boot. It translates all the iconic set pieces from the level perfectly. The huge jump upwards at the beginning, the various underpasses, the giant bridge with pathways on the sides, and the 2 loop-de-loop pathways all combined into one beautiful love letter to the stage, and a fun one at that. I'd rather not have too much Radical Highway for obvious reasons, but this manages to be barely enough to not be annoying. 13. Coral Town is damn awesome. It reminds me a ton of Yoshi Valley from Mario Kart 64 in that there are tons of branching paths which eventually converge. The main difference, however, is that I don't know if there's an objectively faster route yet, so every playthrough of the track is unique to me. I always magically end up somewhere new, it's so damn cool. This, combined with a travel ring shortcut in lap 3, makes this easily one of the best original tracks in the game. I just keep placing it higher and higher. 12. Frontier's rep always excites me, as I like that game a lot, which is all I'll say to avoid spoilers for the Sonic series. Cyberspace is so damn good though, fitting in so many cool moments that all feel very cyberspacey. That's not a word. I love the first third feeling like 1-2's alternate paths, the shortcut soon after with the blocks that appear is super satisfying, the flying segment has tons of obstacles and boosts to use, and the ending... Okay, it's pretty boring to be fair, but everything else before is good enough to warrant this high placement. Love the Flowing and Dropaholic remixes, by the way. They are awesome. 11. Aqua Forest is exclusively for the water playstyle glazers like myself, as it truly utilizes it to its full potential. There are shortcuts that require using the drift jump to take, and it leads to one of my favorite shortcuts in the game. Look at this. Isn't this the coolest thing ever? This is such a satisfying one to take, man. I love how risky it is. There's also tons of altering paths, a travel ring shortcut, and tight turns to boot. This is an exhilarating track that never fails to amaze me with how good it is. Play it right now. 10. Combining Pumpkin Hill theming and Mystic Mansion into one exceptional Halloween tribute with Pumpkin Mansion makes this track have one of the greatest themes in the game. Its vibe is amazing, and it truly utilizes some weird-ass ideas that add so much to it. Almost immediately, there's a split path which both lead to separate travel rings, placing you on the ceiling. You then wrap back around to the other side of the mansion and end up in some sewers, taking you to an outside segment. There's pumpkins that disappear, opening up certain routes, gravestones opening trick opportunities, and even an invisible pathway led by fire on both sides like Sonic Heroes on the third lap. I think the layout of this track isn't anything exceptional placing it this low, but I can't get enough of this track, man. It's so damn cool. 9. We all got hyped when Metal Harbor was in the first gameplay trailer, right? It doesn't disappoint too, as it's got some awesome differing pathways, amazing spectacle moments, and brilliantly difficult shortcuts. I especially love this part, where you can either fly in the air or stay on the boat. It's a brilliant way of differing the paths gameplay-wise. The best part, however, it has to be this ginormous jump on the third lap, mirroring the rocket launch of the original game. What an amazing tribute to one of my favorite stages in the entire franchise. 8. I must be out of my goddamn mind because Northstar Islands is excellent. My favorite aspect of the course is how you travel between so many of the zones of Sonic Superstars all in one track. You start in Bridge Island, then get to Speed Jungle, arrive at Sky Temple, take a detour to Press Factory, run through Sand Sanctuary, and loop back around to where you started. It's a perfect way of representing more of the game than would be possible if only one zone was allowed. Each part of the course feels like that area gameplay-wise too, as they incorporate a key part of that area's mechanics to it, like the hydraulic press and Press Factory. With the scenery always changing and the gameplay with it too, it makes for a shockingly compelling course that I'm always hyped to play on. 7. Making a track with such thin walls in a game with a monster truck item is one of the funniest moves this game pulls, and it works wonders. Apotos is everything I wished Market Street was. Going through as many iconic set pieces as possible, with differing routes available, and overall feeling much more like a tribute to the level. Finding the alternate route in the first half felt super satisfying, and going the other way around the giant monument on the third lap is genius. This is easily the best main track themed after Unleashed, but it's still not my favourite overall in this game. We'll talk about that one later, so just know that this one is absolute cinema. 6. I can't be the only person to get extremely hyped whenever I hear the opening before the race even starts, right? This track absolutely has some of the best music in the game, alongside one of my favourite track layouts. It barely ever feels like I'm not turning, there's so much intensity to it. The water section on the third lap is brilliant, and there's a huge variety of visuals I adore. You go from inside a pyramid, to a market section, over to some cliffs, and finally a giant, more open segment compared to the rest. The flow of this track is immaculate, making this one an instant pick online. 5. Dragon Road is my favourite Crossworld in the game, and for good reason. Not only do we have some giant jumps giving you tons of tricks to perform, we have some tight turns to take in the first half which are so liberating. We also have one of my favourite water segments of the game, where the Dark Gaia Phoenix shoots fire down a path blocking it. The turns here are great too, with one huge 360 ending the track brilliantly. The visuals add so much intensity, the respect to the original level is ever present, and overall, there's no Crossworld that hits me the same way as this one does. What a masterpiece, the first S-tier track of the game. 4. Despite Mystic Jungle being from a game I don't have in the highest regard, let's just say, I always had that feeling that this one would blow me out of the water, and needless to say, it did exactly that. What an inspired choice from Forces. Aqua Road already had the DNA of a racetrack, so this makes perfect sense. My favourite aspect is absolutely jumping off the sides and making it back on the track, saving huge chunks of time. It's similar to Mario Kart 8's Rainbow Road, but far more encouraged and realised here. I love the addition of both routes from the game in the intro, the running water adds a lot of flashiness to the visuals, and they even used the snake in the third lap to block the boost panel. I think there's a shortcut with it too, I've never taken it though. Overall, this track fully embraces the potential of the original level, giving us pretty much everything I could have hoped for out of it. Bravo, Sonic Team. Bravo. 3. Don't judge what I'm about to say, I'm British. But shopping centres are a match made in heaven for kart racers, as Colourful Mall is almost as good as its coconutty counterpart. You're in the mall for the whole thing this time round, and there's a heavier focus on different elevated parts. There's so many different ways to go about this track because of this aspect, and there's different shops shown to you depending on where you are. For instance, the very top route has a cinema on the third lap, and on the lower route there's a toy store. There's a dining area shortcut at the end, the previously mentioned third lap route is a blast. This track is never-ending bliss. I still think that the OG Coconut Mall is probably stronger overall, but this track is a more than worthy spiritual successor to it, still being one of the best tracks in the game. 2. Now, I swear to God I haven't placed this track high due to any bias or whatever. I truly believe that Kronos Island has one of the greatest track layouts the game has to offer. The turns are some of the best feeling turns of the game. The use of Tower, Azura, and Squid is masterful, and the variety in visuals is brilliant. No part of the track feels the same, and the music is, again, some of the best in the game. The I'm Here remix for the third lap is stuff only dreams are made of, but this game manages to pull it off flawlessly. I've never felt cooler playing a track in this game than this one, and despite me not having as much to talk about compared to the others, it stands above the rest as my second favourite to play in the whole game. Still not number one though, so let's see how something managed to feel better than this. 1. Right out of the gate. I get a similar feeling to Sand Road whenever the music plays for this track, dude. It's so good. Wonder Museum is a masterful blend of a genius theme and exceptional layout, which never fails to amaze me. Because it's a museum, we get to see so many interesting visuals of Sonic's past, such as various frontiers, monuments and ruins, a classic model of the tornado, and this really interesting echidna statue I only noticed when making the video. What is this even from? Obviously Angel Island, but why is it a thing? Were the echidnas that proud that they made statues like this? Future Marcor here. This is from Team Sonic Racing. I didn't play that game, I don't plan to, but it's from Team Sonic Racing. Fuck me. Lore implications aside, naturally, all of this and more comes to life in the third lap, making for some genius obstacles like the fossilized dinosaurs and some cool ways to get items like the tornado spinning around. This track sort of feels like a whole bunch of mechanics and ideas from other areas coming together in a masterful demonstration of what makes this game so damn fun. The layout may not be the craziest thing in the world, but it works super well, and every other little detail discoverable here makes this track a wonderful contender for the #1 spot. It was a close race, but Wonder Museum managed to reach the gold prize. So yeah, that's the ranking. Again, this game shattered all expectations I originally had at that initial reveal, and whilst I do have some nitpicks, like why is everything so damn expensive, I am more than happy with what we've gotten. Obviously, there'll be more tracks released in the future thanks to the Season Pass. In fact, the Minecraft DLC is already out by the time I release this video. Here's where I put the track. I'll be sure to make a pinned comment down below showing where each DLC track will be in the future. If you've got the money to spend, definitely check this game out. It is way more worthy of its price than Mario Kart World, coming from a guy who loves that game too. Well, I guess it's time I go back to the trenches of the Sonic series now. Really should have come up with a better name for the thing. Because of this release, I'll actually tell you that the next one will be on Sonic and the Black Knight. Super duper mega excited for that one, so I'll see you then. Subscribe to see when that comes out, and goodbye.